Yes, indeed, Culture Collision 5. It's my pleasure to turn over the stage to the man, Danny. Say something, Danny.
What is up, Culture Collision family? How are y'all doing today?
Sound strong in that mic.
All right. All right. You want me to yell? I will yell. Thank you so much for having me today, Culture Collision. This is the first panel we are doing today. It is 12:20. We're going to get started. So when I was asked to be on this discussion, it was going to be about what is your favorite platform and why. And the thing is, I think I'm going to interpret that question as to what is your favorite platform online. Because when it comes to buying, selling, and trading in person, nothing beats the excitement and the electric energy of a card show, whether it's local, regional, or national. There's just something about being there in person and just having community and kinship with your fellow like-minded hobbyists. And I love that. But we all know that we can't go to a card show every single day, every single weekend, and some of us have to transact online. Some of us just want to do it in person, in the local card shop, in the local card show. And if you are one of those people, that's wonderful. The thing that I love about this hobby, it's so big. And there's something for everyone. Whatever you want to do, you can do in the hobby. And so you can cater it and customize it towards your personal preferences and your needs. So having said that, the major platform we all know online is, of course, eBay. The thing that a lot of people say about eBay, and I will say before I continue, no one has paid me to say something for or against any of these online platforms. This is just my own personal opinions, and as an experienced seller. So before I get to eBay, what a lot of us like to call FeeBay, I'll explain a little bit about my background. I collected as a kid in the early 90s, and I collected until the late 90s. Then I went to college, and, as a young adult with a little bit of, adult money, if you will, I got back into the hobby around 2008 when my Florida Gators, 2007, 2008, when my Florida Gators won a championship and they started going into the NBA. I started getting interested again. And from 2007, 2008, all the way up to 2012, I collected for those 5 years, and then I took a hiatus because I had a young family, and I came back into the hobby around 2022. So I had a 10-year gap about twice, and I've seen a lot of different changes in that time. So in the early 90s to the late 90s, you just went to your LCS. There was nothing online, of course. There was no online platforms. There was just Beckett price guides and your local neighborhood kids. I'm sure there were shows. I never went to any. I didn't know about them. Growing up lower to middle class, probably lower class in New York, in Queens, New York City, just didn't have a lot of money. Just dollar packs, junk wax era, and all that. And then from 2007 to 2012, you had that online forums. I was not on the blowout forums, but I was on this thing called Sports Card Forum, SCF, and I had a presence there, and I would like open up packs and take pictures and describe what I was doing on a thread, kind of like talking about things like that, which is kind of like silly to think about nowadays, because nowadays, of course, you have the breaks, you have streaming, you have YouTube, you have social media, and I am on Instagram. I'm almost at 10,000 followers. For YouTube, I almost have, I'm like a little bit over 300 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed to me yet on YouTube, please do so, because I just dropped a day one vlog of Culture Collision. Today is day 2. So that's my background. And the thing about it is, when it comes to online social media and platforms, it can be used for good. It can be used for both good and or evil. As we know, with technology, anything in life, when it comes down to it, if you can harness the power of technology for good, you can do good things. If you harness the power of technology for bad, you can do bad things. So in the hobby community, you have people, you are able to engage with people online. You're able to buy, sell, and trade online as well. So maybe before I get to eBay, I'll talk about Instagram. I love Instagram. I love making content, but I also know that I am not a very good quote unquote story seller. There's some of these folks who sell exclusively on Instagram where they put up their cards with a price. Usually it's like a little bit under eBay, like the comps, which we can talk about briefly. But people try to sell there because there's no fees. You basically have, basically like if you want to have fees, or not if you want to have fees, but if you want to be protected, you have PayPal goods and services, which is what I always recommend, whether you are, especially the newer collectors. But if you just give money to someone through PayPal, friends and family, um, Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, you're not able to get your money back if you're scammed or defrauded. So I really caution people, especially if you've never met that person, to transact in those unprotected ways. So Instagram, people try to sell on there, and usually the only fees are like 3% for PayPal goods and services. But I know some people who sell a lot on Instagram because they've built up a following and they know people know what to expect, whether it's ultra modern quarterbacks, hockey, baseball, basketball. Like they have their niche audience and they sell towards their followers. Let's get to eBay, because that's the big one. That's the big giant in the room. It is the largest online selling platform. It has the most number of cards. It has the most number of eyeballs. It is the giant in the hobby online. And yet, the thing that a lot of us in the hobby really bristle at is the fees involved, because you can have upwards of up to 15% right off the top. So if you sell a card for $100, you are going to net about $85. I know some power sellers are able to knock that percentage down even more, especially if you're a consignment, smaller auction house within eBay. But that's if you're like a power seller. If you're just starting out, you start off with what everyone starts off with, which is a big 0 next to your username on eBay. And that represents the number of sales, the number of transactions you've done online, which gives you no credibility. People are, if you have someone in the 0 or the teens, very low number of transactions, they're like, is this person even real? Are they a bot? Are they just here to just kind of like shill bid? Which I don't even want to get into that because that's a whole nother thing. But basically, you have to watch out for people who just have no reputation or not a lot of transactions online, because they could have just created that account for no good reason. So I'm about like 300 to 400 rating, not rating, but like transactions, buying and selling. So I have some experience on eBay. There are different ways to sell on eBay. You could do the auction, and you can set your auction at any price, starting at 1 penny all the way up to whatever you want. And then you could also do fixed prices. Again, I wouldn't recommend a fixed price of 1 penny, but if you have a price in mind that you want to sell a card for, if you want to sell that $100 card for $90, just put it up for $90. You could do a fixed price where no one can negotiate, or you could do OBO, or best offer, where people can say, oh, would you take $70? Would you take $80? The great thing about online platforms, it takes all the good and bad about the online platforms is it takes away that human element. Some people love the back and forth negotiating in person, and some people are just like more reserved or hesitant to want to do that. So I gotta say, you gotta find the style that you like. Some people love shows, and some people don't. This can be very much. I love shows, and yet I get overstimulated, and it can be too much sometimes. But for the most part, I do love getting to meet people in person and build a community and kinship with my fellow hobbyists. So you have auction, you have fixed price on eBay. You get the most eyeballs, but you'll also pay the most fees. The other platforms, I know so I know that Golden had its own separate thing, and now it's woven into eBay. You had PWCC, which stands for pre-war cards, and they turned into Fanatics bought them out, and now it's called Fanatics Collect. So you're seeing some consolidation and some acquisitions within the space with the big companies, and there's some power moves happening, which again, this is introductory. I won't get into all that. I think I'm about 10 minutes into this, and I feel like I could talk forever, but I'm going to try to keep it around 15, 20 minutes. So you have these other auction houses. You get less eyeballs, but you can also get lower fees. So there are some that can go up down to, like, I know Altus here, they have an auction house. Again, I'm not sponsored or affiliated with any of these companies, but when it comes down to these auction houses, there are many different places that you can consign your cards or put your cards up. Other online platforms that I've gotten recently into is Veriswap. There, you don't have to send your cards away to anyone. Oh, and eBay, you keep your cards in your house and you can sell them when you want. But for these consignment houses, they have vault systems like Fanatics Collect, like Alt. They house your cards and they do all the shipping for you, which is great. Some people, I love shipping. I love packing and shipping in my house with my roller printer, with my little packages and bubble mailers. But some people do not like that, and you got to again find out what you like to do, how you like to transact, and what you like to do and what you don't like to do. I think that comes with a lot of experience in the hobby. Whether you just have to find your niche, and it takes time and experience to figure out what that is. When it comes to Veriswap, it is like eBay in the sense that you keep your cards at home, but and you list them up, and there's no auctions. It's just fixed prices. And the thing about eBay is it's all sales. When it comes to Fanatics Collect and Gold Alt and all that, it's all sales. There's no trades. In Veriswap, you can trade your cards. So if you have like $1,000 card and someone else has $1,000 card and you both like each other's cards, you send them to Veriswap. They're like the middleman, and they take like 3% fee from each side. And so I guess for $1,000 transaction, they would get about $30 from each side, and you ship it to them, and they verify. So it's a safe way to buy, sell, and trade. Platform that I will say this company, I have been sponsored by them, but I'm going to be as objective as possible, and it's called My Card Post, and they're mycardpost.com. They also have an app, and for them, you can do the same thing. You keep that cards in your house. It's not a vault. It's buy, sell, trade, and for them, it's like a monthly subscription. So there's no fees involved other than the PayPal goods and services of 3%. But when it comes to My Card Post, you are able to trade cards and buy, sell, and trade without any limitation, without 3% fees each time. Like going to like a company, it's it's not like FeeBay. What happens there is you are able to, put your prices up, and you're able to transact, and it's a subscription-based model, kind of like Netflix, where you pay, I think it's as low as $9 a month, and you list up your cards, and you go ahead and people can make offers, and you can go there and make offers to other people based on cards you have. So the it's almost like eBay. It's high fees, high eyeballs, large number of inventory and items. Then you have My Card Post, where it's lower fees or lower, it's like subscription based model. But then you have lower fees, lower eyeballs, and less number of cards. So my opinion, I just do all of them, and I see I just post things. If I have a card that I want to sell, I'll put it up for a buy it now or best offer on eBay, knowing full well that I might get only 85%. So I'll put a little bit higher price so people can negotiate with me. Every card I put up, I think I put or best offer just because I want to see what offers roll in. And then I put up this very same card. I'll put it up on Veriswap. The very same card I'll put up on My Card Post. It takes time, but what I'm trying to do is if I can sell a card at low fees or trade a card at low fees, I'll go ahead and do that. But I'm keeping my options open. So it does cost, the costs are, I think, it can add up. Like eBay, it's free to list if you want, if you have your own user, starting from zero. But if you also have a store, there's costs associated with it having an eBay storefront. And so, I don't want to run down all the fees and, all the terms and conditions and exclusions may apply and your mileage may vary. But, this is just a very introductory overview of the different online platforms. My favorite one, if I had the most ideal platform, and I will get to question and answers. Thank you for being here. If you have a question, please, I'm here to answer anything that I can. But my favorite platform would be the most ideal platform would be low fees, so not the eBay fee structure, but it would be 3% or monthly subscription based, be very low, with the most number of eyeballs and the most number of cards. So it's almost like if I could have I know people joke about eBay being fee-bay, but if we could have a free-bay, and I know they're a corporation, they're not going to make anything free, but if we could have a lower fee-bay or a free-bay, that would be my ideal. Another ideal platform for me would be like my card post, but like on eBay's level, like millions of cards, millions of eyeballs, and like low fees. So kind of like a mix, like a mashup of all of these. That would be my ideal platform. It doesn't exist yet. The great thing about the consumer is when we have competition, these corporations and these companies have to fight for our money, our eyeballs, our attention, and so they're driven to try to provide the best online auction, the best online platform experience. And so that's what we have going for us is our collective energy as consumers, and we vote with our wallets, so to speak. So I think that's about it. I don't want to go into too much. I could literally, I have a podcast too, and I'm gonna put this on my YouTube vlog. This might be its own separate little, video, but I could talk forever, y'all. But I'm not going to. My mouth is actually getting a little bit dry too, so I'm gonna pause right here. Thank you for those who are listening. I really appreciate it. You have been such a great listener. If you have a question, if you have a comment, can we pass the mic over to this young lady over here? DJ Vega, can we pass a mic over here if she would like to say something? Is that one good? Anything you want. Comment, question. I just want to engage. You can just say, you did a great job, you did a terrible job. Please go ahead. How long have I? How long have I been doing this? So, yeah, I did a little bit of the background, I think maybe before he came, but I've been doing this, the transactional side of the hobby. So here's the thing. There's the creative content side of the hobby. There's just the cards and the buying part of the hobby, like collecting. And then there's the transactional side of the hobby. So the collecting part I've done as a kid, but I had some hiatuses because of like life events. And then the content creation side of the hobby, I've only been doing since 2022. So it's been 2 years, but I feel like I've learned a lot and I love it and I'm growing as a content creator all the time. And then the transaction side of the hobby, the buying, the selling and trading, I've been doing again since 2022 because I realized you can buy all you want. If you're a billionaire, millionaire, it's great. You can just buy whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter. But I'm a budget collector. I try to stay within my means. I don't like to overextend. I try to be fiscally responsible. So that means making hard choices and also having to sell some of my cards. So that aspect of the hobby, the transactional side of the hobby, I've been doing for 2 years. So I haven't been doing it for decades and all that. So I appreciate you asking me because you're like trying to figure out, is this guy, what is he talking about? Like, does he know what he's talking about? I kind of know what I'm talking about. I will never say I'm an expert. I'm always learning. But they asked me to be here, so I'm gonna talk. But what I think the most important thing is that we all learn from each other. And maybe someone's watching this right now, and they're like, I disagree with you, and they'll tell me something in the comments about why I'm wrong. If it's I'll consider it. We all have our opinions. Some people, they could just be completely off base. Some people could have a reasonable, legitimate, argument or counterpoint, and I'm always willing to listen to those because if anyone in the hobby says or thinks that they have it all figured out, like those are the people you should run away from and not listen to because those are the ones who might be too narrow-minded or closed-minded, or they're too like, oh look, I'm too good for this. I know everything, and that really can't be the case, realistically. So thank you for that question. Do you have a question, young lady? Yes.
My question is, what is the pitfalls and what is some of the best things you can say about what you do?
Oh yeah, I mean, so the immediate answer that comes to mind, thank you, that's a great question. Because there is a lot of content creators don't want to talk about like the pitfalls or the sacrifices or the losses. We talk about taking the L's, and it's embarrassing. It can be really embarrassing if you are showing that you lost a couple of hundred, a couple of $1,000s on a transaction. Some people are really embarrassed to show that online. I try my absolute best to try to be transparent with like showing my wins and losses, but I will very much admit when I lose on a transaction, it's embarrassing. It's like, man, like I feel like I should know better. There's also the pitfalls of not just losing money on a card or like a legitimate sale that the player gets injured or the card just doesn't do as well as you think it will. But there's also like the scammers, the pitfalls. One of the big pitfalls with online is fraudsters and scammers, and scams can happen in person too. But what happens is people are emboldened online, kind of like with trolling. People feel like, well, no, there's no one on the other end. It's not a real person. But if you get scammed, that you're a real person who lost money, and so the pitfalls can be transacting online in an unsafe way where you can't get your money back. That's why I talked about PayPal goods and services. You pay that 3% fee, but if you don't get the package, like if you send money out and you don't get your cards, you can ask for a refund. If you pay by Cash App, Zelle, PayPal friends and family, you can't get your money back and you are kind of out of luck. So those are the pitfalls: is unsafe trades, shady people in the hobby, and also the market going up and down. Those are pitfalls. Some of the best things is the complete opposite of what I just said. Safe, reliable trade partners, safe, reliable sellers, wins on cards where you bought it low, maybe you graded it or the player did well and it appreciates in value and it goes up and up and up and you sell it for more. Those are some of the greatest joys in the transactional side of the hobby. And I know this was mainly about the transaction side. It wasn't about content creation. It wasn't about collecting. It was about online platforms and which ones are the ones that out there and what people like. So I gotta say, and if I forgot any of them, I apologize, because there's like ComC, there's 90s auction house, there's like so many different little niche auction houses. So I didn't get to all of them, but I just thought about 4 or 5 that came off the top of my head. But the pitfalls and the best experiences it's the flip side of the same coin. It's reliability, trust, and the value of your cards and sales going up and down. So great question. Thank you so much for that. So I don't know if we have any other questions. I gotta say, I really appreciated the opportunity to do this with Culture Collision. First time being on a panel or a discussion for the hobby, and I hope it's not the last time. Again, I'm Denny Cards. I'm on Instagram, Denny_cards. I'm also on YouTube, Denny_cards. I got stickers for the people who are here. I would love to talk to you once I get off the stage about anything you want. And I try to get back to everyone in my messages, and I try to engage because we're all here to learn from each other. I may not, like the classic saying is, your mileage may vary. What works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me. But the great thing is that we all continue to learn from each other, and just be there for each other. Like we can all kind of like just be rooting for each other as much as we can. And it doesn't always have to be binary. You win, I lose. I win, you lose. We can all collect cardboard and transact safely and have a great time in this hobby, because that's what we're here for. So thank you very much. That's my time. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. DJ Vega, right here. It's a real one right here.
Listen, bro. Danny, you want me to when you came over with the beatbox and you make sure you follow all social media platforms.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
We got another one over there. Congratulations.
Congrats. Congratulations. Congratulations.